Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Hart.
and this is Critical Technocolor. And today's podcast is all about a
Ikiru?
really old movie. Yeah, Ikiru. I was afraid to say it because I didn't want to butcher it, but Ikiru. That's how you say it.
Yeah, I've been practicing, but I'm probably terrible at the pronunciation.
That's great. That's great. And this is so this continues our Japanese bureaucracy arc.
Yeah, it seems to be that's what we're going for.
This is the second. We're on a theme, and the first time we looked at Shin Godzilla as our maiden recording, and now we're back. We traveled back in time for this one.
Pretty far back, yeah.
Akira Kurosawa. It's kind of. I was joking before this, but it's kind of funny how we went from Shin Godzilla at that, to the Criterion Collection, and this was your choice. Well, you gave me a list of movies, but this is kind of your choice. You've talked about this movie before.
I love this movie. It's one of those movies that, like, I don't know. I saw it. I've heard about it. I've known about it. Like, it was one of those movies that's on a bunch of lists of, like, movies you have to see before you die. But
Yeah.
it's I think it's a nice movie that has a very human story.
Yeah, and he dies.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah. I mean, the movie tells you at the beginning he's dying.
right up top. They're like, "Hey, our guy's gonna die. No happy ending here, or maybe a melancholic ending at the very least." But I you know what? I haven't seen a lot of Kurosawa stuff outside of like the general, because I think when you think of Akira Kurosawa, you think of Seven Samurai and Yojimbo. You actually think of like action movies, rather than like this, kind of like slower paced story about like an old guy.
Yeah, and
dealing with cancer.
This is probably one of my favorite movies. I haven't watched like all of his old like samurai films, but I love this movie. And the other one, I think it's called Ran, Ran, but it's the story of like King Lear, but told as like Japanese people, basically in like feudal Japan. And I like that one as well.
And wait, I just want to, before we go on, Zero, can you break down the story of Ikiru as you, what is this movie about according to you?
I mean, for me, you basically got the main character, and I don't actually remember his name, because it never, like, they don't say it very often.
That's the mark of a great movie.
Yeah, but he's basically, because they refer to him as our protagonist, but he's basically just, an office worker, been working in, like, city hall, like, bureaucracy for, like, 30 years, I think it was?
Yeah.
Never really lived a day in his life, and of course he finds out he's going to die of stomach cancer, so he's got to he's kind of, basically having a midlife crisis of figuring out how to live, how to enjoy those last moments of his life that he's never really lived, and kind of, a journey of self-discovery, and of course the bureaucracy of Japan, I think, would be the most concise way to break it down.
It's really sad.
yes, it has some very sad moments. There's one scene that I absolutely love, but I guess we'll get there eventually, kind of halfway through the film.
Well, let's go. Yeah, so is the main character's name, by the way, is Kanji Watanabe.
Okay, yeah.
But like, what a sad film! Because it like just starts out right up top and tells you like the protagonist is dying of cancer. And then it kind of like, the story isn't quite linear because it tells you that, and then you see it like kind of like watching him before he gets his diagnosis.
Yeah.
I really liked, there's a scene, they're going through the bureaucracy of there's these group of people, and they're trying to get a park built. And this group of women keep getting sent from office to office to office to office, and it's like short montage of them sort of like getting sent around. And
I like how that's kind of like this quick, concise way of just showing you the hell that is bureaucracy of like, not my problem, go here.
yeah, like there's this middle management in like City Hall. You would think like, this is in real life, this was post World War II.
Yeah.
Only like I less than a decade
Yeah.
after the war and
Yeah, I
after
think it takes place basically the same year as the movie, which is 1954.
52.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So like yeah, less than 10 years after World War II, and like to think like I was kind of like, wow, this shit's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was the way it was back then, and I think that's one of the things I love about it. Is kind of it for me. That's one of the reasons I do kind of love it. Is it's a look at Japanese life in that country at a time that you just don't see a lot of.
Yeah, yeah, like it's like that. Yeah, like almost like they're kind of modernizing Japan at that point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, you've got the
Because they're
early
rebuilding.
1900s where they kind of, they were making friends with white people and trading guns, and they kind of, they were starting to wear suits and getting rid of the samurai. And this is kind of like the World War II was really like the full modernization, militarization, and this is after that where they're kind of an established nation, but they are hurting bad from the war.
Right. I really like now bureaucracy is the theme up top.
Mhm.
And this is weird because it kind of is an indictment of bureaucracy in the same way Shin Godzilla was.
Yeah,
But it puts that up at the top. But that's not entirely what the movie's about. But I
yeah,
do like how it's introduced like that, and I even like how that extends not only to like City Hall and like public works projects,
yeah.
but also healthcare. Because when the protagonist goes to the hospital to get his stomach checked, and he learns he learns that the doctors kind of give their like diagnosis isn't exact. I felt like it's like they'll tell you it's an ulcer, but they really mean it's cancer, and they do this because there's like sort of like I don't know, they don't really get into it, but I imagine it was probably sort of like a they need approvals to get surgery, or maybe they just don't want to do surgery or something. But it was just such a very like geez, like every part of this guy's life is like waiting for someone's approval and someone's stamp.
Yeah, this is at that time, from what I understand, it was basically a thing where someone was already dying of a terminal illness like this. One of the beliefs was like to not like burden them with that thought, with that knowledge of like, spending the rest of their life like worrying about dying, so they just wouldn't tell them. So
They would just lie.
just go home and you'll relax, you'll be fine. And then, nature will take its process. But I think part of it, and I don't know, is probably also post-war. You don't want people going home to die instead of staying and working until they die, because everyone's trying to rebuild.
That's kind of nuts. I guess so. Maybe that reminds me of that other movie, The Farewell, which I
Mhm.
think also had like a similar plot like that, where they like their grandma was dying and they kind of like lied to her and like sort of kept her in the. They kept her out of the loop because like, but in that movie it was a language barrier
Yeah.
that kept things separate. But that's crazy. So okay, 6 months to live. Would your first instance be to jump?
I don't know.
'Cause
I mean,
that's what you did.
I feel like, of course, like you got 6 months to live. I'm definitely gonna have fun, I think, is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Party, do whatever. I like drugs, whatever. I mean, at that point for me, it's like, what am I gonna do? OD? Of course,
Yeah.
get a second opinion.
I think kind of would suck if you couldn't really get drunk because of your stomach, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things is he's got the stomach cancer, so it's like you can't even enjoy like the fruits of life with like eating and drinking, which, ow. I mean, I personally, I don't care for drinking. It bothers my stomach, so I don't. But like, it's one of those things where, yeah, I mean, he just doesn't know what else to do, so he just like at one point starts drinking because that's what people do, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I was gonna die, I'd probably want to drink myself to death or something.
Yeah, a lot of people would.
he goes out on the town, as any person with 6 months to live would do. And he goes out, he gets wasted, and he has fun. He meets this writer
Yeah, the
guy.
writer. That's definitely something I was talking about because when I rewatched it, I was watching it with my roommate, and she mentioned how the writer and our main character, it's kind of like Virgil and Dante. He's like leading him through hell. They're going through all this debauchery.
What did he call himself, Mistopheles or something?
Yeah, it was something like that. I can't
I thought it
remember
was
the
I thought it was the
character's name.
fucking cat from Cats. That's what I thought of.
Mm.
And then he kicked the dog.
Yeah, yeah. The guy definitely kicked the dog. That was one of the moments where it's just like, why?
Well, this movie's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's a movie I definitely enjoy because of the humor of it.
And the main actor, whose name is Takashi Shimura, he, I mean, with all due respect, kind of has an interesting face, right? Like he
Yeah,
almost kind of looks like a frog.
yeah, a little bit.
He's got like these like very big eyes, and he almost seems like he has eyes that are like they seem like vacant, but then they kind of like spring to life occasionally. Like he'll like kind of like stare off in the distance, like if he's already dead, and then he'll just like kind of like stare at someone. I don't know. It's kind of creepy. It's a little. I don't know. I felt bad. I felt bad. Not to get too heavy, but I kind of reminded me of my own dad,
Uh,
like, because like the son is sort of like not burdened by the dad, but definitely sort of like, the son has sort of like moved on. The son is like grown up,
yeah,
and the father has to kind of grasp at that because I think like I think the point of the movie too is sort of like living for yourself rather than living like for other people, like because he there's a flashback of him, and I really thought this was sweet, the like flashback with his son kind of like reliving moments and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
And like he lived his life for his son because his mom died when he was a kid.
Yeah, I also just love the Mitsu,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Mitsu.
I love that. It's so sad.
Yeah.
It was so sad, but I was like, damn, that was heavy. I don't know. It really hit me in the feels. I was really like, I had a little tear in my eye when I was watching that part.
Yeah, that's one of those moments that I like because it gives you more information about the two of them and their relationship, but you get that little kind of bit of the funeral procession for the mother, and you can again that main guy's face. He just looks
I
he looks
know,
so defeated all the
all the
time.
time,
Yeah.
whole life just taking L's.
And even when his son's going to get like his appendix out or whatever, it's like he's like, "Dad, can't you stay?" And he's like, "No, I've got things to do, but I'll be back." Like he's
Yeah, what
always
the
gotta
hell?
go.
What was he doing?
Work things. You
He
can't
had
be
to
late for
go back.
work.
Yeah, he had to go back to his office to do nothing. I I really liked the girl who I think her name is Toyo Odagiri,
Mm.
played by Miki Odagiri,
Of course.
according to Wikipedia. But he gets diagnosed with cancer and sort of like loses himself. So he's out of work for like 5 days.
Yeah,
Or
he's out, like I think he's out for like a week pretty much at one
yeah,
point, almost two, and because he's just that was at the point where he's just like out partying and gone.
yeah, just vibing,
Yeah.
just vibing in the streets of Japan.
Nobody knows where he is.
And there's like rumors and all the like middlemen and stuff like that are kind of like whatever. But there's this character, this girl. She is like the youngest, I think, employee in that block,
Yeah,
or probably in that building.
she's the one who just breaks out laughing at the beginning of the movie because she's reading the joke about the government official who, is afraid to take off work because then they would realize they don't even need him there for it to continue to run doing nothing
Yeah.
forever.
She, I mean, she's getting a new job like almost right off the bat. And she's kind of like the epitome of like, uh, you know, she sees what's coming.
Yeah.
And she's like, I gotta get out of here. But he runs into her during his bender, and they form like a little bit of a, not a relationship, but like codependence maybe, and not even, no, not even codependence. He's just kind of needs someone to talk to, and he can't talk to his son.
Yeah, he's kind of he's desperate for someone to confide in and also looking for a way to kind of feel alive, and she's so joyful that he's just like I like hanging out with you.
I know. I like that he, like, when he breaks down with her, he's sort of like, give me your secret to being like joyful. And she's like, I make rabbits.
Yeah.
I make toys.
I also love that scene with just the whole birthday party going on in the background, where at the
Yeah.
restaurant where they're talking, and he's disparaging about this death that he's about to go through, and meanwhile there's just like a happy birthday in the
I
back.
know, I know. um she I first of all, I want to shout out the animal style animal style stair walking
Oh
going
yeah.
on. And there's a lot of walking on all fours.
Yep.
A couple of moments I was like, oh, that's what they're going up the stairs animal style. But yeah, I thought it was really cute. I really like her. Um she shows up to the house, and like he notices her. He looks at her feet. He's a feet guy.
Hmm.
And he takes her to buy stock and stuff like that, and that's kind of like their rumors start going around that he is, has a girlfriend, instead of the fact that he's just kind of like, dying and looking for anyone to like attach to.
Yeah, I love that when he goes out and has the bender, he gets his hat stolen, and then buys a new hat, and of course later everyone is constantly like kind of acknowledging and staring at his fancy new hat. It's like it's so unlike him. It's a new hat. It's different.
It was so much cleaner than normal.
Yeah.
So that actress, Miki Odagiri, shame, I like, she like seemed so bright in the movie. Like I was
Hmm.
like, oh wow, this must be some actress or something, right?
Probably not.
No, she kind of just fell into nothingness after Ikiru.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I was surprised. Yeah, she was like in a couple of movies, and then it was like, yeah, like nothing notable. I
Yeah,
was shocked because I feel like had like real like Hollywood-esque.
yeah, I've come across a few like actors like that where I'm like, oh wow, I look them up and then they acted in one movie and they've never seen or heard from them again. And it's like those are the people that interest me. I'm like, how did this happen and where did they go?
Yeah, right. You think like I guess that's really like a star, right? You show up, you fucking knock it out the park. What your first try, and then you walk away forever. You just leave on a win.
Yeah, that was I mean that's one of my favorite things about Betty Page is she did all that pin up there. She's become like an iconic symbol, but at one point, like because of all the craziness that happened and legal stuff, she left that world, and then just no one saw her for like 50 years. And then-
She just got up and walked away.
yeah,
But even Betty Page had that like a reputation before
yeah. I
she
mean,
walked
she
away.
definitely built
This woman, there
an
was
empire.
nobody.
Yeah, she just this is just a woman. It's like, hey, you want to be in a movie?
I know, but so what a good performance. And she was so bright in it. And so here's I gotta let you know, because I was really enjoying myself watching this movie.
Yep.
It was hitting me. I was like picking up on everything I was putting down. Oh, you know, strange relationship with the son. He doesn't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
He's looking for anyone to grasp onto. He grasps onto like the nicest coworker in the office, who's like, even at one point is sort of like, all right, stop bothering me, right? And he finally kind of comes to terms with what he needs to do, thanks to the coworker, is that he needs to create. And he himself can't create something, but he's in a position where he can push things forward and like, create things by pushing all those papers on his desk,
Yep.
like approving all those things.
Doing the job he's supposed to do.
Right. And so this is the part of the movie where I really didn't like this. And so this is a 2.5 hour movie. So it's sort of lengthy.
Yeah, it's a long movie.
But it goes at a breezy pace for the first half. Because you're following this guy and he's going on his nightcaps, he's going on his like little lunch dates. You see him kind of coming to terms with what's happening. He goes back to the office with his renewed vigor, and he decides he's going to see the park project through. The park project from the beginning of the movie that the women were trying so hard to get approved.
Yeah.
And that they were jumping around. Then it stops and he dies. It cuts to 6 months later. He's dead. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What a crazy move. What a wild thing to do. I was ready to see him kind of like go through this.
Yeah.
And
Standard hero's journey.
Well, you do see it, but I don't know. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, my roommate as well mentioned that she didn't like that. Me, I don't know. I've never had a problem with it other than the fact that it is abrupt and then that main character is just gone from the rest of the film now.
Yeah, and it's this like a dozen guys who you've like only seen in passing up to this point.
Yeah, they're the background office workers. They were there.
It's just guys talking in a room, which is funny because I think like everyone's always like, don't do this. Don't do something like this. Like I feel like if they were telling you like to write a movie, they're like, yo, you need to like see things. You can't just have guys in a room talking. And that's
which is why they have the flashbacks.
And there are flashbacks to events.
Yeah.
And like
they're
what
unraveling the mystery.
Exactly. And so it becomes it's almost like two different stories, right?
Yeah.
It's
it is a little bit.
It's the protagonist up until that point, and then it's everyone else trying to unravel the mystery, as you said, of why he was acting so bold and out of character for 5 months.
Yeah, he never explained it to anyone.
And it's nuts that the uncle, his brother, thought that it was a woman.
Yeah, no one ever, talked to him about it.
Yeah, he thought that pussy power was propelling these projects forward.
Yep, that was his assumption, and then everyone else was like, "Well, maybe that is true."
Yeah, well, I see it.
Yeah, I love the son and his wife. Just there's all the stuff with them talking about finances, but just when they see him come with the girl from the office, and they're all watching out the window as she adjusts his tie, and they just kind of look at each other like, "Oh my god, maybe it is an affair." Did you see that hat?
After 20 years, he's had it.
Yeah.
I need this.
Even the housekeeper, I love when he comes home with the new hat, and she just she kind of looks at it and looks back like, what?
Yeah, what? Well, I guess this man is the cheapest man in the world.
Yeah,
right?
he's been living the same life every day, all day, the same food, the same clothes. Just
oh my god,
he's been the bare minimum.
He's been eating plain udon.
Yeah.
Every day at work.
I don't know what he eats at home. Maybe that's his meal. Who knows?
Dirt.
He lives in that's one of the main points is that, they live in this old traditional Japanese home, and the son and wife are like, I wish we had a modern home. Because it's this is so old and old fashioned, and he sleeps on the floor and presses his pants under his bedroll, and he's just this simple traditional man. He's been living this way his whole life.
That's how I pressed my pants when I was in high school. He and I were not living different lives. Our lives were not that different. But yeah, I was so frustrated at that point. I was also a little frustrated by at this part where it cuts abruptly to 6 months ahead, and
yep.
Watanabe's dead, and the first I hated this, and I not that I hated it as in like I didn't think this was well done or anything. I just hated it as in like hated these characters because like they were trying to take credit for what he did,
Yeah, yeah.
and drove me nuts because I was like, wow, I don't even know these people. I hate them already, and they're all sleazy. The deputy mayor in particular, sleazy guys, just
Oh
like,
yeah,
well,
especially
me.
him. Just like, you know, because the reporters come and there's questions about how the park really got built, and you're learning more about what happened in the dedication ceremony and how they didn't acknowledge Watanabe doing anything. And the deputy mayor is just there like, these fools, they think Watanabe had anything to do with this.
Yeah, they think he actually cared.
Yeah.
It's just nuts that the whole office. It's like imagine you died, right? And your family's there, and your whole office shows up to work,
Yeah.
and just like kind of badmouths you.
Yeah,
Like,
and like the family most of the time is just sitting there kind of looking back and forth like, what? Oh my god, really?
that kind of drove me a little crazy because I don't care if like I was like you're not even gonna speak up or ask a question.
Yeah, I
These guys
feel
were literally brazenly sort of like, yeah, I don't mean to say it, and they always say that like I don't mean to say it or like I shouldn't say it, but I'm gonna say it.
yeah, I feel like
Your
the
dad,
family
whatever.
I feel like the family was kind of thrown literally into the background in that scene, and especially what I like about that scene is the kind of constant etiquette of everybody quietly getting up and bowing to go and back and forth and like moving the little tables and like all this it's also very Japanese, but then it just kind of breaks into chaos later. But the family is just kind of sidelined and they just take in everything that happens, and there's some resolution, but not much with them. It's kind of just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I guess they have the same resolution as everyone else, where they kind of realize,
Yeah,
oh,
they're just kind
he
of,
did know he
yeah.
had stomach cancer. He didn't say anything for like 6 months.
And the son mentions finding like the financial papers under the stairs, like left for him,
Right.
like that he must have known.
Yeah, totally. No, he totally knew. And and like the women barging in, it was like very
Crying.
telling. Yeah, I love that. I love that
The
part.
woman with the baby on her back. I love that.
Baby isn't any older. No,
Yeah.
I do love the part with the ladies just barging in to cry, or the cop at the end who's just like, oh man,
Oh, yeah,
I should have said something, and they're like, oh, he's gonna die.
Derelict in my duties.
Yeah, I was derelict in my duty. That was what he said.
Yes.
I was like, wow, if only other people would step up and say I was derelict in my duty. Sometimes at work, I'm gonna start saying that, like, oh, I was derelict in my duty.
And of course, the lady from the office never showed up to the funeral, so they never got her side, and so no one ever really knew what happened.
Right, but she did drop off a bunny.
Yeah, she did leave a bunny. I did see the bunny for sure.
But yeah, nuts how they switch up on it, and so the rest of the movie is men talking in a room,
Mhm.
and then a flashback to whatever
Pivotal
Watanabe
points
was
that
doing
are-
and stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah, like, oh well, I remember Watanabe like was stumbling, and I never thought of it, but then maybe.
Yeah, maybe it did look pretty sick, like he was dying or something.
Yeah, they mention a couple of times again, sort of like really rude digs at him. There was one he said that his oily skin is now dry.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was
like,
once so shiny and oily and healthy, and now it's dry and flaky.
yeah, you look a little pale. I really thought the maybe I back to the girl their like kind of final conversation in the booth when the birthday party's going on. I was like, I mean, like, I bet the point was sort of like she was kind of confused, like, oh my god, is this guy gonna like confess to me or try to like kiss me or something?
Yeah,
I was a
maybe.
little uncomfortable, but like, it was done well. Even though this guy might have been perceived as sort of like this like loser and like a nobody, I really thought he was a sweet character throughout, especially when he was going through his last few months and sort of like doing all he can to get his park finished.
Yeah.
And that's like I feel like a lot of people who have terminal illnesses who can do something, they tend to carry out that project and then like expire immediately
Yeah.
after.
That does
Like
happen.
David Bowie.
Oh, I don't know.
He released Black Star and died like the next day. And Black Star is David Bowie's best album. I don't care what anyone says.
Those actors that die right after the movie was finished never got to see it.
Heath Ledger hated the Joker. But I don't know. I really thought that was a little jarring, and I kind of got bored towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, the end is definitely where things kind of slow down, and they just kind of like start trying to unravel what was happening, and it does kind of drag out a little bit too long, I think, because it could have done a lot of that just in the movie and cut that
Yeah.
out. But I don't know. Like it works for what it is, but it
Would
is
you have
slow.
would you have rather seen it done in like a linear fashion?
Um,
Or like if you would have rather seen the Flash, like, him actually working towards the goal.
I mean, I do
Would that have been more
wish.
entertaining, maybe?
I think I do wish there was a little bit more, because I like the flashback scenes. I just
Yeah.
like, I feel like if there had been more of that, maybe or less of the guys actually explaining what was happening and more of just like flashing back to it, maybe.
Yeah.
That I don't know, because I do think it is slow, where they're just kind of, oh yes, and then you get like the drunk guy just like,
Yeah. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
just very slow.
I guess like I just realized I just felt like they were taking a little too long to come to a conclusion. Like, oh well, maybe he didn't know he was sick, and
Which I guess goes to the point that nobody was paying any attention to him.
yeah, except for that one dude.
Yeah, that one guy was really like, Mr. Watanabe would never.
Yeah, no, and that was my guy. That was my dude, because I felt like him, and maybe that's what the intention was.
Maybe.
Was like the audience,
Yeah,
sort of like,
that
wait a
would make
minute,
sense.
because he was really like in tears, kind of like, wait a minute, I know that he built that park, like he made that happen. And they were kind of like, nah, shut up. And then at the end, when they finally unravel the mystery, and they're all like in this drunken stupor, sort of like, telling each other they're going to do better. They end up not doing better, which again is true.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I do love about that as well, is just the fact that they're in that drunken state at the end of the film, where they're all getting drunk at the wake. They just like kind of come to this conclusion, decide like, my God, he's inspired us. Let's all be better people tomorrow. and the next day they just go back to doing the same thing they've always done.
And our guy, he knows it, but he also kind of like falls in line too. But he does visit the park, and he does see something.
Which, by the way, I want to mention that, that final shot of the movie where the camera pans up and you see those power lines, the staple of Japan.
We're getting into the weeds there. I was just about to say, I was like, those power lines. I think if anything, what are like the tropiest things in a Japanese movie? It's power lines, trains,
those fucking birds, whatever, like the
cicadas.
Yeah, that's always in the background.
You see, what's funny about this, Zero, though, is that you're an apologist for this movie.
Probably a little bit, yeah.
Because you were like, and I don't look. For the viewers at home, we talked about this at Shin Godzilla, and I just want to bring it back because your biggest problem with Shin Godzilla is they were saying the same things over again.
Yes.
And my biggest problem with Ikiru is that they did not they did not realize things fast enough. They kept talking in circles until they finally one person was like, "Wait a minute, that's wrong. This happened," and then it was like, "Oh." That drove me crazy, and you're like, "That was fine for you. That was fine for you in this movie."
Yeah, I don't know. It works for me because it's them kind of talking, like really sitting down and talking about it, which they've never really, I guess, done, and so they're kind of going through it as you would. I feel like, I guess. I mean, in Shin Godzilla, I would say, yeah, they do go through it kind of how you would go through it, but I guess for me, it has. It's the problem of there's less connection to the exposition because they're like the radiation is spreading, but you never see the radiation or people
I just want to say, I'm not. I just want to say up top, I'm not. Up top. I'm at the bottom here. No, but I just want to say, I am not comparing the two. I'm not saying Shin Godzilla is better. I just want to point that out. I'm not saying that. I really like this movie. I just am curious why you didn't like that in that movie when it was essentially the same thing. It was essentially men in a room talking.
It's missing. That was what's missing in Shin Godzilla for me, was that character element, and that's where Ikiru is. Where I kind of, it has that bureaucracy that I think is done a little bit more concisely, and it has that character that you can latch onto, follow through the movie, and care about, connect with what's happening.
In that regard, I guess you're right. The Watanabe, there was no Watanabe in Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, you just got the one guy, Rando or whatever his name was, and he just is there.
Right, and it's like a team of like literally who's.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people, but they all just kind of do their thing.
But, and I again, guys, if you're listening, I'm talking about Shin Godzilla a lot because Godzilla was the last thing we watched. And
this is a Toho film.
And this is a Toho film, 20th anniversary Toho film. I think it was. I don't know. But the Godzilla connection here is that Takashi Shimura, the main character in this movie, is the professor in the original Godzilla movie.
Yeah, which is why it made me think of this movie related to Shin Godzilla.
I was like, oh shit, and I guess it makes sense. Right? At the time, you're a popular actor. This guy's apparently been in 200 movies.
Yeah, he's one of those actors he's in a lot of movies, and he's in the original Godzilla, and which is I believe 2 years after this film was made.
What a guy! Like, he is a descendant of samurai.
Yeah, not surprising.
Not
surprising with this guy.
And he's in a lot of Akira Kurosawa. He's in 21 of Akira Kurosawa's 30 movies.
Yeah.
This guy is Akira Kurosawa's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, there was part of the trivia I read that was like, there's one actor that's like in most of Akira Kurosawa's films, and this is like one of the only films he wasn't in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently, you like to reuse a lot of actors.
I mean, if you know what they say, that's a mark of a good director. If if the actors kind of stick around and sort of like he has his sort of like, just, you know, the people he's always reaching for and people who want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was also in Rashomon, and Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
So banger. Shout out to Takashi Shimura. Rest in peace. He's been dead for 40 years. In a lot of tonkatsu movies, and a lot of kaiju movies too. So this guy, wow, he was in Godzilla and Godzilla Raids again. But let's talk. Oh, Zero. Let's talk about the final shot in the movie. Iconic.
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
You would say so, right? I'm not talking about the final guy looking down. I'm talking about the final time we see Watanabe on the swing singing that song.
Yeah, which I like. I like the song. I love him singing it, and that was definitely something I wanted to mention earlier. Was him singing? I believe it's the Gondola song.
Yes,
and I love when he's going on his tirade of debauchery while he's missing, and they go to this dance club, and they go into a back room. It's very jazzy. There's the piano and the mirror, and like you've got this hostess just fucking like Charleston out there, like
Oh,
going
that
crazy.
woman doing the Charleston or whatever she was doing. That was crazy. I'd never
Yeah.
seen anyone dance like that before.
Yeah, it's I love that, and they kind of go back in the room and finish the song, and then of course she sits on his hat, which I loved. Then he's grabbing at his hat like my hat. But then he requests the gondola song or the maiden song, whatever he calls it. But he starts singing it, and I love how everyone starts to dance, and then they just kind of like start staring at him, and the hostess just like backs away slowly as he just like depresses everyone in the room with this sad song.
What a poor dude, man.
He just starts crying, and everyone's just like, what do we do?"
There were a couple of moments. This is a very relatable movie.
Yeah.
I think that I'm like, I've definitely felt in almost every job I've ever been in that feeling of like, damn, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wasting away. And sometimes you do things for other people and then not that they asked for it, and you come up with nothing, and then you're sort of like, damn, where'd my last 10 or 15 or 30 years go?
Yep, that's definitely how that goes.
It's sad. And I'm 30. This is what I've wasted my 30 years of my life.
Yeah, you
No,
just keep getting older and older, and then you keep just feeling like, what am I doing?
yeah, it's scary. But it is. I think it's like why it's still a good movie. Why it's like I think it resonates even today. Like what, 70 years or so after?
Yeah, it's been a long 52. So, yeah, it's an old film, and I think it still like holds up, and a lot of the camera work, especially during that song scene in the bar where it's just like there's a lot of nice tracking shots, and but
Yeah,
it's
that shot with
pretty.
the mirror and the piano where they're
Yeah.
like reflections. Yeah.
It's still, it does have the pacing issues, and I think that's the thing with Akira Kurosawa in general. Most of his films are very long, so that's
He
just
takes his
kind of
time.
par for the course, I think, in general. Ron, I like Ron, but it's a long movie.
And
But
this is my first Kurosawa that I really sat down and sat through.
yeah, it's
Um,
for me. I think it might be, which is what made me watch Ron, I believe.
would you recommend this as a first Kurosawa watch?
I mean, I think so, because I think it's a relatable human story with a character. It, as long as, I think the biggest problem for most people is it might get boring at the end, because that's where like most stories, you kind of ramp up towards the end for like a climax, and this is kind of like ramps down for a like
Yeah.
somber reality. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know that had to have been intentional.
yeah, I would
Um,
assume.
but damn, was it like really putting the brakes on
Yeah.
I was at that point I was like, wow, man, I'm like, let's go build a park. We really don't see any building of the park at all.
Yeah, there's a little construction of them leveling, and he falls, and there's that women's league there, whatever they are. That's just like the
The
mothers.
women's league,
Yeah,
the
basically.
PTA.
Yeah, they're just they're the ones getting the park built, and they're helping him, giving him the water, and it gives you a little bit a glimpse into that, but I wish it was more.
I did want to be a better person after this movie.
Yeah, I think that's the intention.
I did. I was sort of like, damn, maybe I should call someone. you know. But it was good. It was really good. I'm glad I watched this. This wasn't And I knew this was going to be good. I mean, Akira Kurosawa has a reputation as one of the greatest directors of all time.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best
Uh,
Japanese directors that I've personally seen, but I haven't seen all the Japanese
all
movies.
right, I'm hesitant to say that because I'm not as fluent in Japanese directors, but he's definitely the most well known,
Yeah.
and one of the greatest directors of all time,
Yep.
considered by many. So I knew this was going to be good, and I really did like this movie, and I'm really interested in seeing other ones. Though that last bit did throw me for a loop.
Hmm.
But it's a movie I'd rewatch. It's a movie I'd recommend to people.
Yeah, I've seen it multiple times now, and I still enjoy it. It is a little bit slow towards the end, but I don't know. I'm kind of okay with it, but I do watch a lot of long, more boring movies, I guess sometimes.
You love boring movies.
I love crazy, insane movies and boring movies and all types of movies.
So, did you know, Zero, that this was remade
Oh,
as a television film?
yes, there's also a new film that like literally just came out and an old one and like there's actually like two or three.
Wait, really? I only
Yes.
knew about the 2007 one.
Oh, okay. Well, there is a newer one. I can't remember what it was called, but it has a recognizable actor. I can't remember his name.
Oh my
British
God!
actor.
Wait. It's called Living. It's a British drama film.
Yeah.
Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm not looking this up. Pretty sure he wrote that movie. I mean, that book with that was adapted to a movie with Anthony Hopkins. It was about driving. He was like a driver, I think.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! All right, I'm clicking the link. The Remains of the Day. That's the movie
Hmm.
and the book that I was thinking of. But so, uh, yeah, he adapted Ikiru, and they remade it as a movie for British people
Yep.
called Living, and it just came out this year in January.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because when I found out there were actual remakes, I was like, I don't know how that would be because I'm like I enjoyed this movie, but like if it were a completely different film with different character and different like pacing and setting, I don't know, I don't know.
Right. I wonder if this takes place in modern day.
The new one does look like more
Oh
modern
no,
day,
no.
but I can't
Well,
tell.
1952 London. Okay.
Hmm.
So same time period, just on the other side of the world.
All right then.
Well, because that's interesting. I was gonna say, like, I think the setting, has a lot to do with the like character of this movie too.
Yeah, I think definitely the time and the place and everything really are kind of key elements of the
Right.
film.
But I guess this could work if, because I don't know. Britain's probably not as bad as Japan in 1952, but they
Yeah,
still were. But they still were.
yeah,
They still did see like combat during World War II, so I'm sure
yep.
they would have been bodied by a war. But oh wow, what a weird coinkydink here. Now check this out. There was also in 2003, DreamWorks attempted to make a U.S. remake that would star Tom Hanks.
Trying to imagine. Oh no,
Right? That's nuts.
I feel that very much feels like the kind of Americanization of a lot of films like that. You get somebody like Tom Hanks and you put him in the lead role and you make an American movie and it's the same movie but for Americans.
In 2008 or in 2003, I would have been like, that's a little far fetched. But in 2022,
Mm,
I think Tom Hanks is old enough for me to believe that like, and Tom Hanks is in his old man game right now.
yeah.
He's just playing old people. In the new Elvis movie, he's just caked up in makeup, just
Yeah,
being
he
old.
looks fat and old.
I think he could deliver a good performance if they were to remake this with Tom Hanks in that role.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could pull it off.
Maybe not in 2003 though. Yeah, they had a director and everything in 2004, and it though it was never produced. And there is a TV movie in 2007. I'm trying to figure that out, but I think that might be just a Japanese.
I think
2000.
it was.
Yeah, it's a TV movie. The poster alone tells me everything I need to know about this movie. Doesn't look good.
Yeah, I think I saw a few screenshots and I was like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, they look like the screenshots kind of look like Yakuza cutscenes. Oh man. Oh boy. But Ikiru, good movie. Enjoyed it. Liked that a lot. Dug it. I'd watch it again.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of my. I wouldn't say it's like one of my top favorite films, but it's one of those films that I like. I'm really glad I watched. I'd rewatch it again, but it's like it's definitely about the story and the character, and it's not the kind of film like I absolutely love and like I'm gonna watch this over and over again.
Yeah, right. And it's not something you want to like. I said before, like, would I recommend this to someone? Yes. Would I recommend it as their first Kurosawa film? I don't know. I'll get back to you once I watch some of the action stuff from start to finish. But I feel like those might be better entry points for them, but I don't know.
Maybe I really like the Ron film, but I mean it's got some amazing like epic battles and some really cool sequences that oh my god they killed that stunt man. I'm not sure if that guy's okay, but like it's that's a pretty crazy movie, but it does have the I warn you now, it kind of has that similar problem where like towards the end it kind of ramps down a little, which maybe that's the director's thing.
Yeah, maybe that's his thing. He just ramps stuff down.
Maybe. Of
He's
course,
a
it's
tease.
like I don't know. It's like King Lear, and he's got some madness, so it's kind of like a descent. So I guess it makes sense there.
He got that madness in him. He got that dog in him.
You know, kings, they're always going crazy.
Well, all right, Hart. Is there any closing comments you want to make on Ikaru before?
Um, yeah, I think that's mostly it. Like, I think we hit all the main points that I was thinking of. Oh, I did really like the scene when he goes to the doctor's office at the beginning of the film, where there is like he's sitting there waiting, and there's that other patient that just kind of like starts talking to him and explaining kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the stomach cancer and what the doctors will say about it, and he's kind of like realizing, oh shit, do I have stomach cancer? And then that guy kind of like quietly realizes it too, and he's like, oh, I should stop talking.
I love that. I love that hospital scene. And that's what I mentioned it up top, but that leading into the doctor's diagnosis and his sort of reaction, like, no,
Yeah.
tell it to me straight. And he's like, no, you have an ulcer. And he's
Yeah,
like, he knows.
I love the nurse in the background just like he knows too much.
Yeah. I love that, but it's so like, oh, it's so heartbreaking, it's so sad.
Yeah, and then I mean, we didn't really touch too much on like his son and the wife, but like they really don't do much other than kind of mention like we might get his money if he dies. Like what's going on with that retirement or whatever. Like, and then they're kind of gone from the film later.
They're only there to plant the seed of doubt in
Yeah.
that man's head that he is a burden. Like plant that seed that he is a burden to them. And then they sort of peace out for most of the movie.
Yeah, there's that moment where he's like tries to tell his son that he's dying, and they just kind of like, we already know you're fucking the office lady, father, and he's just like, he kind of just dies inside.
I know.
He spirals,
So funny.
and he just
So-
never told him.
I mean, I maybe an affair is like holds heavier weight when you're like the older man in Japan. I don't know, but I felt like I don't know. I feel like such a silly circumstance to like get like accidentally like multiple people are pegging you as some guy adulterer with this
Yeah.
younger woman.
Yeah, you know, those old businessmen.
Yeah, and the brothers even like yeah he got that dog in him. So but those were moments I did wish that the son and the wife kind of had a little more to do.
Yeah.
but it wasn't their story. And like I said, they were there to serve the main character, to put that seed of doubt in his head.
Yeah.
And I like I said, the only real takeaway I had, or the real negative takeaway I had of the movie, was the like switcheroo halfway through.
Yeah, that it's definitely not my favorite thing about the film, and it is like my least favorite part is them kind of just talking a little bit too long. But I
When
can
you
live
show
with
this,
it.
when you show this movie to people, you're like, wait, keep it, like, stick around. It's gonna get
Yeah,
good. It's
yeah,
gonna get
I love the conclusion, but getting there is a little difficult.
good. You're like holding your roommate's hand, like,
Yeah,
wait, please,
yeah,
don't
it's
leave the
almost
room. Don't get water. This is the best part.
But you know, I recommend it.
I recommend it too. It's a good movie. So, what are we gonna watch next time, Zero?
I mean, that's a good question, I guess. I mean, anything on that list or anything you want to watch, but like,
You want to jump back in the Criterion Collection, or you want to go into something crazy, something ridiculous again?
well, I did send you what is it, Robot Jacks and Robot Holocaust is a good one, and I mean, there's a million films out there. Because
Okay.
there's anything you want. Personally, I've got a thing for, bad 80s films, and I have a lot of 60s and 70s. I usually don't go for 50s, which is why Ikiru stands out for me, because it's like that kind of period of film is a little bit slower and more dull, and it's less interesting to me.
Right. Maybe do something new.
I mean, there's always something
Maybe I'll
new.
get you out to watch Thor.
Probably could.
It's not good. I think you'd enjoy it because it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, the last one I saw, and it was all right. I didn't love it, but it was all right for a Marvel film. I'm not really a huge fan of Marvel films, but it was fine.
Man, they're all downhill.
Yeah,
they're really running on empty here.
I don't know where they're going, because I saw that multiverse Doctor Strange movie, and it was all right. It was fine. Like, they did stuff. I'm okay with it, but whatever.
Yeah, I think every movie in this phase has been like, all right, but what are they doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I only wanted to see the multiverse movie because of the conclusion-ish to Wanda's story from the show I watched, which didn't have that kind of good ending. And then, like, Sam Raimi just... Is he doing anything with this movie? I don't know.
And it turns out he wasn't.
No, he's not. There was
turns out he didn't watch WandaVision.
No, I don't know.
I love that. All right, Zero. Should we have a sign off?
I don't know. I mean, probably. Any suggestions?
Since we don't, I was gonna say next time maybe we'll have a movie to go so we can like drop the recommendation, like, or like next time we'll be talking about this.
Oh yeah.
But
next time on.
Yeah. Exactly. Instead of just like a bye, we'll see you later.
Yeah. You can definitely put something together.
Yeah, maybe we'll think about that ahead of time. But still working out. I think we got good introductions this time around.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little bit more concise.
Look, I'm sure we'll get it in post.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do what I can with editing things down, and then should be okay to upload it, and I guess we'll just start doing that. Just gotta watch whatever you want to watch next, because like I'll watch anything once.
Yeah, I mean, same. I was actually thinking about that when I was in it, because I did go see Thor in the theater, and I was like, how hard would it be to watch something new and talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's you can go and you can see it and definitely talk about it. I mean, it's one of those things where I guess you're not gonna be able to fully take all the notes you want, maybe, and rewatch and pause and rewind, but other than that,
I guess if you like watch it, and then as you're leaving, you immediately, like, when you get home, you like, I gotta write down some notes.
yeah, that's probably a good idea, because I mean, I paid money to go to the theater and see the movie Cats, and it was one of the most painful experiences. I could recount most of it because it felt like eternity.
Wow, maybe we should do Cats.
Oh, that's not a terrible idea, because holy shit, that movie was like in theaters. I was just like, what?
I know.
Is happening?
I saw Cats in a theater, and it was wild. It was like it was like teenagers. There were like a group of people who were like, like they're like drinking and sort of watching it. There was an old couple, and there was like maybe like one or two people who were sincerely watching it with their kids.
Yeah, I think there was maybe 8 people, other people in the theater with me and my sister, and one couple seemed to really enjoy James Corden, but like it was like a quiet, empty
Yeah,
theater.
it was so weird. It was so because I think there were people there who were like, "I'm gonna watch this and like it's gonna be funny, ridiculous," and they were silent. And then I was watching it, and I was just sort of like cringing through it. I was like, "Oh my god!" And all I remember the end of the movie where they're like singing and the cat like goes into the sky and blows up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that there was an old couple there that the man just started laughing out loud at the end of the movie. And that cracked me up. It was like, wow, that was finally like, what is happening in this movie? Someone finally said it. Everyone else was sort of like, geez, is this really what they're putting on screen?
Yeah, I kind of like I almost burst out to laughter at the end because I was just like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?"
Okay. Is that crazy? Is that crazy if the cat's on the docket?
I mean, we could. I think it's a movie that has some things to talk about.
I think let's do it. Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be stupid.